Everybody, welcome back to Poquito podcast. I'm Dominic Angel. Ricky and Ryan have the day off today. We have a special guest host, Silvia de Anda, is here with us. Say hi to Silvia, everybody. Josh is in the back running the boards. We got into this conversation with our guest, very special guest, and we didn't get a chance to introduce him up top. So I just wanted to say, everybody, welcome Jesus Trejo. It's such an honor for you to be here. And we just had this conversation. There's crying. There's tears.
It's a lot of crying.
It's a really great episode. I can say that up top, and I really hope you stay to the end because all of it is so meaningful to us. So thank you all for being here. Enjoy the show.
Yeah.
A couple things you might need for this episode is 1, water, 2, tissue, and 3, an open mind. We'll see you in a bit.
Like, where are the bunnies going? And my grandma's like, oh, it's the dogs keep killing them. And I was like, we got to get rid of these fucking dogs.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, ¿Estás pendeja, Silvia? What the fuck do you think you're eating right now? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, what the fuck do you think this is? It's a bunny. I was like,
I have been winning a lot of raffles at school. Why am I so lucky? There's an inverse relationship between rabbits at home and me winning stuff. That's wild.
So crazy. I'm like, I just want to go to Vegas and gamble for some reason. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I might win.
Like I said, Mika, pick the lottery numbers. Why me? You'll know one day.
Then I started realizing, I'm like, oh, all these pelts are the bunnies for around our house.
Oh man, that's wild. Yeah, it happens.
Shift of perspective.
How big were these rabbits?
They were pretty big, but also they were like pelts that they'd bring back from Mexico. So it's like goats and
okay, because I was like, you were just like, all of the pelts are rabbits. You're like, we're rich.
No, some of the bunnies are pretty big,
yeah.
But the pelts would like line all of the armrests of all of our couches.
Did it have the head? Like the ears?
No,
I feel like they don't do that with rabbits. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know. You see boots where you see like the snake head on it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, or like a bear rug. But it's like they never do that to the rabbits. They're just like, no,
yeah,
too cute.
It is too cute.
Yeah.
I saw my
they're
dad.
They're cute. It's not cute, I'm sure, if it's on the thing, right? Anyway.
Well, who
it's
knows?
still kind of cute. It's comforting to like pet it. I know, it's just kind of pet it a little bit.
No, it looks like they keep the head on the rabbit skins.
Oh, they do?
They do?
Yeah.
We didn't.
Oh, I've never seen one.
I know you can right now. You want to?
I'm like, I know my dad would eat the head parts. So,
Yeah?
Yeah, my dad's fucking crazy with it. He'll eat anything. If you put anything in front of my dad's like, hell yeah, dude.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Tatemado? Hell yeah. Tatemado, nice and barbecued.
What's tatemado?
Yeah.
Is that the head?
Yeah. No. Tatemado is like the way they cook it. You know, it's like a las brasas kind of thing. You know?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you're Mexican.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty
it,
Mexican right here, Mexican.
I appreciate. Are you just Mexican?
So yeah, so I was born in Long Beach, California. Born and raised my whole life, and my parents are from Mexico. So my mom's from Guadalajara, Jalisco, and my dad is from Sinaloa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they met here in Los Angeles, and then you get this guy right here.
Yeah, I remember I heard that story about how your parents met.
Yeah.
And then I forgot if it was on a podcast that you were talking about it, their whole relationship and the way they started. And you're like, you know, their complex relationship with each other. And you're like, yep, we exist.
We exist. Yeah, we're out here.
Yeah,
my dad was working construction and was a landscaper, you know, and my mom was a nanny. And she cleaned houses out in Palos Verdes. So they both worked in that area. And basically, as the story goes, I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but basically, dad's out there, you know, mowing the lawn. He looks up at the window. Mom's cleaning the window. She looks down. My dad waves, and here we are. You know, it's like... Yeah, they met on the circuit. I like to talk, like, you know, limpiando casas and, you know, jardineria. So they met on the circuit. If you notice, it's like Palos Verdes. I don't know how familiar you guys are with that area. It's like, it's a lot of raza going up there, you know, for, you know, taking care of kids, nannies, and construction, that kind of thing. So it's like everyone meets. You go up the hill, and there's like a spot in the middle called Plaza Malaga, and that's like coffee shops. There's some like a 7-Eleven off of what is it, Crenshaw, right before you hit Silver Spur. So there's pockets of where people kind of like meet, like jardineros meet for the coffee, because you can't start work until 7 a.m. So everyone would meet in pockets, and then it's like as time gets closer, everyone starts kind of going to their different areas. So that's kind of where they met, and they were living in Torrance at the time, and here we are. Yeah.
And you're in Long Beach now. Were you born in Long Beach?
Yeah, born and raised my whole life. Right there, born in Long Beach Memorial, hospital. It's like I haven't moved too far away from where I was born. I'm like tethered to that spot. But yeah, Long Beach my whole life. I went to school there. College, I didn't go there. Like I went to Long Beach City College, and then I was supposed to transfer, and then my major was impacted at Cal State Long Beach, and then I went to marketing, business administration, marketing. So I went to Cal State Dominguez Hills.
Same.
Oh, did you go to Dominguez Hills? Oh, wow. Wait, did I know that? I feel like we talked about this.
Yeah. When we were at the Comedy Magic Club, and you like hung out with me for like an hour on the roof.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the best night of my life.
Yeah, we were just kicking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What was your major?
PR and marketing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, communications. Yep.
Yeah.
I famously did not go to college.
Nice.
I went to Pasadena City College, took the aptitude test, scored a perfect in English and in math, and I was like, I don't need this.
Oh.
Confidence.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. I learned all I need to know.
Yeah. Did you go to college?
I dropped out of high school.
Oh, dropped out of high school?
Did you really?
Yeah.
Josh, I would have never thought.
Right.
You seem like a good boy.
I was.
I still was. Yeah.
I didn't do bad or anything. I didn't even do drugs in high school. I just hated school.
You hated school? Were you always like an art type of guy?
Yeah. I'm music then.
Creative, yeah.
I wasn't like, I'm going to be great. I just hated it so much. I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I was like that, but I stayed in school.
It's crazy because I feel like, I don't know, maybe it was ingrained in me so much by my parents, like how important school is, that I still have such like a strong bias, even though I try to fight it where I'm just like, no, and education is important. School is important. You got to do that. Like you don't know. But then also some of the most like smart and brilliant people and creative people I've met like at this stage in my life, when they tell me like, I didn't go to school, I'm like, but you're so smart. I feel so stupid when I meet, like every time these guys talk about anything, truly anything, they know like the ins and outs of it. And I've always just like, I've coined myself a know nothing bitch. Truly, I know nothing. I really don't. I really don't know a goddamn thing. And they're just like, yeah, this one prolific artist or this one. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know anything. I'm like, y'all read? Is that how you get there? You just read?
Usually, yeah, that's how you do it. Or documentaries, or lots of YouTube.
I mean, I think that's the thing is like education and knowledge obviously is super important. I think what gets into it's hard because like, so I want to say that education is important, but academia is full of shit. Which there's something to that. Like there's a lot of bias. Like American college is very Western thinking, and like the education styles and like the class system built into all that shit. I'm just saying a bunch of buzzwords so I sound smart.
I was like, that's what it is.
It sounds like you can write a dissertation on why academia is BS.
Like, racking my brain for as many buzzwords. Equity.
I can't even spell dissertation.
But I mean, the thing is though, it's also hard because like even for work, I'm just like I'm like I don't have either a trade or like a degree in something. So it's like if this shit doesn't work out, it's like I have to fucking do well in this. It's like all I have is my hustle right now because I got like doing the podcast, doing comedy, do like my photography and stuff like that. But that's why I'm always like, for somebody that didn't go to college, I'm like, I feel like I'm as smart as a lot of people that did get their degrees, right?
Smarter. I feel like you're smarter than me all the time.
But it's also like it's so hard. Like young people, it's like I don't know what to tell them because I'm just like, dude, it's tough if you don't have something like a degree. It is important, but it's also just like I don't know. Life is hard. Life is different for everybody. You know.
Are we all first generation in here?
I'm first generation.
I think technically second. My mom was born in the United States.
Okay, second.
I'm second for sure.
Second.
Yeah.
There's something really interesting. Is like we talk about education, and even what you were saying is like it's so ingrained. I think, for me it was like both of my parents had very little to no schooling. My mom had a tiny bit, but basically not anything significant at all, right? So even seeing them like the challenges they had as far as like reading and writing in their own language is like that's tough. So I do get where that like tienes que estudiar, you got to go to college. It's like you're el mundo se te abre used to be like the saying that my parents used to say is like your world will open up if you have this education, which I agree, and it came with a lot of pressures, but then it's like it comes with a lot of pressures when you're like, I need help with this thing, but your parents, they call it what is it, the second space? So it's like first space is school. No, parents is first space, school is second space, and the in between is the third space. I remember reading this somewhere. This is not like my own theory, but between these three spaces is where you find who you're supposed to be and what you are.
Right.
It sounds like the third space was very much your thing. It's like I have a passion for music. School may not be the thing, right? Maybe like family life was also like another thing that kind of was like, hey, you should do this thing. So we're all creative. So I think that third space probably was like a big thing for us.
Right.
And that's great, but parents don't see it that way. There's always this pressure like, tienes que estudiar. And so when I went to college, that was like a big deal. Every time I graduated, like, I don't know, middle school, high school, like it was such a big deal to my parents. They're like, man, this is great. And then I go to college and I graduate and they're like, wow. Like in their eyes, they're like, the cycle is broken. Like we're not going to have the same experience we had. And then I'm like, I'm going to be a comedian. They're like, and we're back. So I graduated and then my dad's like, so what are you going to do? I said, I'm parking cars at the comedy store. He goes, oh my God. He goes, I don't get. He said, "Do you understand the opportunity that you have? Yeah. That you went to college, got a college degree? He's like, that's so crazy." And I'm like, "Yes." And I'm gonna go park cars because I get 5 minutes of stage time a week at the store. Isn't that a good deal? He goes, he would say, he's like, si querías hacer payaso, ¿para qué estudiaste? No se estudia para payaso. You don't study to become a clown. I'm like, actually, in academia. So yeah, I do think the definition of education is so broad, and I think it's not one-sided as to in a textbook theory. There's so much education. It's like with comedy. I mean, the education is it's in practice. You have to do it.
Yeah, the other thing that's really interesting about Latinos specifically is that, like, obviously, you have the experience of your parents, like, not having a full education, like they're having trouble with literacy and stuff, and then just being so busy to work and like not just having the opportunity afforded to them. But also one thing I always keep in mind is like the Chicano movement specifically in the 60s was started because of education. Like one of the driving forces behind it was that like students, high school students at the time, like Latinos were not being pushed to go to college. They were like being put in home ec. They were being put in like being men were sent to like become mechanics, and women were to be like housekeepers and stuff like that. And like they couldn't speak Spanish in school and all kinds of stuff. And like they just weren't being encouraged to go to college the same way. Like they were being put on different tracks, specifically for like labor. And obviously there's nothing wrong with being a mechanic, and like you make a lot of money being a fucking mechanic. Yep. But like the fact that like that generation had to fight to like be able to like have the respect and like be shown that it's worth it for them, like they deserve to go to college and they deserve to get an education. Now they see the younger generation is like, fuck school, it's a fucking scam. And like, I want to do all this creative stuff, or I want to do something different. It's hard for them.
It's funny, like the school, the mechanic thing that kind of happened to me in high school, because I remember it's like, one, my grades weren't like anything to write home about, right? And they were okay at best. And I remember that a lot of my friends were already like submitting to colleges and this kind of thing. And I was like, well, how do I'm the whole time I'm like, I'm going to college, but I'm like, now it's senior year, halfway through. And I was like, oh yeah, I never filled out an application. The counselor never told me to do anything. Like, so I was kind of in this limbo state. And I remember going to the career center. And I'm like, hey, how do I apply to? And this is like such a wishful thinking. I'm like, oh, I think I want to go to like UCLA, or it's like, what does that look like? Or Harvard? I hear that's a good school. And they're like, it was kind of like, hey, like your academic work doesn't support that path. And I was like, okay, so how do I go to like the college? Like, Cal State Long Beach. And I remember she pulled out a paper and it was a diesel mechanic 1 year program.
Wow.
And she goes, it pays really well, which it did. I don't remember, but I remember seeing, I'm like, that's great. But I remember feeling like I don't want to be delegated this path. Like I want to do, I was pretty good with computers. I was like, I was in an electronics class at the time, so I was doing like circuitry board, like call them breadboards, when you like space out all the circuitry, and I can do stuff like that. And in my head, I was like, oh, what if I worked for like even Texas Instruments? You know, kind of doing the circuitry. We were learning how to make calculators like from scratch, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I could be really good at this, but to be delegated that was like hurtful. And I'm like, oh, I'll figure it out on my own. And eventually, it took a while, but I did get into college, and then I went to Long Beach City College, and then kind of deviated from that whole computer aspect of it. But you know, long story short, it's tough when you don't know where you're headed.
Hell yeah.
Some of the top level diesel mechanics make about $82,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they hiring? Can you check? This will be my last day as a comic. You'll never hear me say I'm a comic again. He's a diesel mechanic now.
Don't tell him that. We need him in this space.
How do your parents now, like, I mean, obviously you've built a career out of this. Like, you're not just doing stand-up. You have a few shows going.
Yeah.
You know, you authored a children's book. Like, you're doing a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm excited that all these things I've been very lucky to kind of, take part in, and it means a lot. I think my mom, I was lucky that she was able to come around to what it is that I was doing before she passed. And, she was able to see some cool things. And I think she understood it as best she could, with her limited knowledge of what I was doing. She did her best to like understand, and she was able to see me do some cool things. And I would try to tell her as much as I could, like explain to her what I was doing, like certain shows. So like that felt good, that my mom was able to, see stuff all the way up until like the book, the book.
Oh, nice.
It was really cool. And my dad has come around a lot. There's still kind of, certain times where he's like, actually, I'm just now, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that my dad has not brought up getting another job in a couple years. He used to always be like, what if you get a job like during the day or something, because he sees me like at home maybe, or like when I would get off the road, he goes, you should go work this job, or look, I heard they're hiring. He used to always bring it up. Now he doesn't do it anymore, which is like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's meaningful. That means he understands that I'm able to, make a living off of my, tonterias per se, my little dumb things that I put together. So, it took a while, but it was cool to see my mom get a certain level of understanding of what I did, and see her be proud of what I was able to accomplish before she passed,
Hell yeah.
I didn't know your mom had passed.
Yeah, she passed last year.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, man. This is a crying portion of it.
I was about to say, I'm like, fuck.
I'm ready with the leverages. Fucking open up the floodgates.
God, no.
Here we go. No, you and me both ahorita. Fucking. This episode's gonna be called Chillar.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put my mic down.
Yeah.
You guys take the room.
No. It's it's cool. It's I would say with the book, you know what was so cool about the book is that it was a childhood dream come true. It's like, because I love books. I spent a lot of time in a library, being raised by the librarians, and I lived by the main library in Long Beach, so I used to go there all the time. And I loved making like little books, you know, and it was like a big like thing for me. And I was like, oh shit, like to have that opportunity. I mean, this is years of trying to pitch a book and it never happened. And it finally happened in 2020, and it just came out last year. And it's my first book. It's like it's called Papa's Magical Water Jug Clock, and there's a Spanish version of it called El Barrilito Mágico de Papá, which my wife consulted on it, and you know did the translation and make sure it was authentic, you know, in speech and all, you know. But it was really cool to have that book out there because it was like it's everything I've worked towards. You know, it's like my storytelling thing that I care so much about, comedy. You know, comedy, the book, you know, the story, it reflects my upbringing. It's very authentic to how I grew up. It feels good, you know, it feels like, and also like imagine like your parents barely knowing how to read and write in their own language and never seeing themselves in a book, but they see themselves in a book. Like that was wild. It was so crazy. I remember reading the book to my parents. My wife was there, and when we got the book, I read it to my parents in English, and then she read it in Spanish, and she did the translation. I'm like, why don't you read it in Spanish? And they both like listening to it and seeing my dad go like, man, that's so beautiful. And I don't look like that. I'm like, Dad, that's you. That's you. And then later he comes back to it. He's like, that is me. He's like, I had a hat like that. I'm like, these drawings are based on a picture. They're in a different style, but that's you. He goes, yeah, that is me. I'm like, in his head, he goes, that's not me. But then he reads the story and he goes, that's me. And then he looks at it. Now he's come to terms. It's like, wow, like that's a story about us and us working and mowing lawns together.
Oh, wow.
Know? Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful to be able to give that back to your parents like that.
Yeah, it feels good, man. I can't explain it. Like I have a hard time tooting my own horn ever, but like in this case, I'm like, man, that was really cool. I can't believe I pulled that off. Like it was like so cool.
I'm just gonna shut the fuck up. I'm just gonna shut up.
Let's chillar together.
Everything in my power right now just to not bawl.
No, it's
just beautiful. It's all it is.
It's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Can I ask like how much of like your decision making when it comes to like your career, obviously you're following your own passions,
yeah,
but how much that is driven by like your parents?
Oof. What I see. Now it's my turn to chillar. Here we go. A lot, you know, a lot of it. Cause I think, you know, knowing that my parents were, not in great health, you know, for since I started, you know, there was always one thing or another and things escalated. And, so there's always a sense of urgency, you know, to make it. And I think that pressure kind of sucks when you're dealing with art, but you have to do it, you know, it's like, and so everything, I felt like that was definitely part of that North Star, you know, it's like, I'm walking in that direction. Hopefully it's the right direction. You know, I'll like correct. Like what about you? Is there an influence that comes for you guys? Like, I'm curious to hear, like, is family a big, influence in how you move in your decision making as an artist?
Damn, we're all gonna be crying.
Good. Now it's not just me.
I know.
That's so
I'm
fantastic. It's my favorite thing.
Like,
Not to be alone crying.
I asked the question and then he turned it back on me. I'm like, what the fuck, bro?
Oh no, yeah, I would love to hear. I'm sorry. You know, it's like I would love to learn more about you guys.
He's like,
you know?
sorry, I just want to be a friend.
No, I think when I was very young, I was very selfish. Like, I think I thought I had a little bit of a dysfunctional family. So like I found solace in my own stuff, books, music, creativity, and Jesus Christ.
What if we found out that we're all related? It's like, wait, you had a dysfunctional family. Wait, what's your dad's name? Yeah.
So I think when I was like really trying to do it for myself. And it's so funny because when I was in my early 20s, I was very stubborn and I was like trying to do stuff on my own. And the thing with my mom is that, like, I mean, both my parents, but they were separated. So like, you know, I grew up mostly with my mom and she was always very supportive, but she was like, my mom had my older brother when she was like 16 and then me when she was 18. So like she was very supportive, but there was this desperation, like pressure of like almost like shaking us every day, like don't fuck up.
Don't fuck this up. Yeah.
Like, so it was like everything you do, you have to be the best. You gotta succeed. Like, and so my mom really pushed it and like ingrained in us to doing it, to have an education. But for me, it was like, I was like, it's a scam. It's a fucking fuck down. I wanted to be an author.
Nice.
I was a really big Kurt Vonnegut fan. So like, I want to be a writer. But then I got into photography and I got into filmmaking, and that like when I graduated high school, that's what I was pursuing. But I think I had a chip on my shoulder because I was like, I would never take my mom's advice. I was always like, I'm going to do it my way. And in a lot of cases, by doing that, my way was to just do nothing. And so like, as I got older, my mom has always been there to support me through everything, like all the podcasts, like our live shows, all that stuff. So, you know, as I got older, me and my mom have worked on our relationship. We're a lot closer now. But I think now there's a sense of like, there's still that sense. I feel that pressure that you're talking about health, because like, you know, I don't want any, my mom's been on the show, so like the audience knows who she is, so like I don't want anybody to be concerned, but like we've talked about like she's diabetic and like what that means for like the health risks that come with that, and like I think about like one second. When I was trying to be a filmmaker, I had this pressure to like put out a movie, and that's still something I want to do because like of her diabetes and like the thought.
It's all right. It's all right. Take a little break. Yeah. We're not going nowhere. I am, but just to get you yeah. We're not going nowhere. They locked the doors, by the way. So, so we're here actually.
It's I remember one day thinking like my mom was talking to us about her diabetes and about how it's progressing and what might come with that. And a big part of that was going blind. So for me, I'm trying to be a filmmaker. Like I want her to be able to see, you know, something I did, something I created. So like, yeah, I think now, especially, I think I feel the pressure more now than I did when I was younger. And I think now it's like a thing of, you know, realizing, thank you so much, Josh.
That's the nicest thing I've ever seen Josh do.
You guys don't know Josh like I know Josh. He's a good guy.
Josh is great.
I don't know why Josh gets the short end of the stick here. He just brought water for both of y'all. He's like, well, that's the nicest. Hey. Oh, man.
But, you know, it's a thing of like when you get older, I think I didn't realize at a young age how tough my parents had it. So then it's like as I started entering my 30s is like, it's kind of like it hits you all at once of like how tough things really were. Yeah. And so it's like now with that new, deeper understanding, feeling that pressure and that motivation, not just for them, but for myself. And like, so yeah, I related a lot to what you're talking about in that sense. And thank you for opening it up for that.
Yeah, for sure.
He finally broke him. I've been trying to get him to cry for so long.
I don't want that title on here. The leadership board is like, I'm the only one up there.
It's a competition between us.
Yeah, of me trying to get him to cry and him just being like, not sad enough.
You know what you guys should do? Have like a, you know, like at the end of like Pac-Man where you put your initials and what the score was? The timestamp of how long it took to get him to cry. See, I hope everyone watching this is able to have a friend like Josh in your life.
Seriously.
This is a grade A individual, you guys. Oh man.
Josh is very, very nice and very kind. I think it's just I've gotten so used to him being so what do you call it? Nihilism?
No, I'm not allowed to say that anymore.
Okay, well, he contradicts everything you say. Like, you can be like,
I'm
hey,
combative.
he's so, it's fucking ridiculous. And he does the nicest stuff. I mean, fucking coming out to shows, hanging out, being a pal. It's amazing. But then you'll just have a conversation with him where it's like, it's such a nice day outside. And he's like, no, it's not.
In his
Is it?
words, he's an asshole, but in his actions, he's the best person you
I
ever
know.
meet.
And then he sees Dominic, having a moment. And he's like, just out of the goodness of his heart, he's like, I'm gonna go get him some water. I'm like, why can't you just, with words be nice?
You gotta keep it interesting, right? Is that what it is? Yeah.
And also the show has to be able to flow. Anyway.
Yeah. He's a producer as well, so yeah. It's like it can be heavy, right? When we talk about, these families and the truth is that there always will be, that heaviness to one's journey. And I think more amplified when we're an artist and we're dealing with these things that mean so much to us, right? Mm-hmm. But we also have to remember, and I've come to realize in this past year since my mom's passing, it's like, wow, it's like what a great opportunity I was able to what a great opportunity that was on the table for me to get to know her as much as I did, and for her to see like to your point, it is very valid what you're saying. It's like I think there's this risk of mom not being able to enjoy your work, which is filmmaking. It's like and this I understand what that is, but your mom's been on the podcast. Mm-hmm. Your mom's been at shows. That to me is so special that they're able to see the stuff along the way. Like, that's so dope because you'll always look back and laugh. It's like, I remember bombing in front of my parents. Hilarious. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was hilarious at the time. It was so painful, but I was like, man, I just can't imagine what was going through my mom's head. It's like, Boda Mijo, it's like, I don't know what he's doing up there, but those are the things that I look back on. It's like, man, that to me is worth more than is like, do I wish she was around to see the next thing and the next thing and the thing I'm hopefully going to do if I keep doing this thing? Yeah, of course, but it's like, you also need to everything is a decision, right? It's like, if you're going to put your eggs in a basket, put it in the one that celebrates that experience, that lived experience already, and what's here now. People talk about being present. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. I think that's where it's at, you guys. Like, being present, and it's like, tomorrow's not promised or something like that. I forget who said it or who wrote it, but I believe that. So it's like, why not be present? Like look at the beautiful things, like Josh bringing in a cup of water, like that's being in the moment. Like that's, you ask Josh later, it's a beautiful day. It sucks. It's like, but you still had that beautiful moment. You know, that's what it's about.
Yeah, man. I love that.
Yeah.
That's what I think this is my contention with Josh.
Okay.
I've been tasked with sending him all of the sad videos I find online.
Oh, okay.
So that we
This is for the show?
This is for the show.
Oh, okay.
So that we can make the presentation when it's the sad portion of the show. Everything that makes me cry.
Uh-huh.
I have categories. I have degrees of stuff that'll make me cry, right?
Okay.
I think things that are also just beautiful and inspiring make me cry because it's like, wow, seeing humanity, seeing the hope in things. Mm-hmm. I think that's beautiful. So I constantly am sending Josh, I think the one that pissed me off the most.
I can't wait to hear this.
I'm so fucking mad. I was like, God damn it, Josh. Was it the little black kid giving out food to people?
Yeah.
I was so
He's gonna show it to
Is this list of videos, is that going to be played at the show?
Yeah, so
okay. Yeah, okay.
The thing is, all right, is that I'm like, send me sad videos. She's like, oh, sad, everything. We're doing all the sad things. And then she sends me all these videos. I'm waking up to 13 plus videos. And all of them are happy. They're all positive things. And I'm like, this isn't sad. I was like, this isn't sad. There's nothing sad to me about a kid giving food to homeless people. I'm like, this is a good thing.
It's
You
beautiful,
don't think
but
people
it's,
being homeless is sad, Josh?
Yeah, I mean,
the child is giving hope. That's what it is. Like the beautifulness of like his purity and his innocence to wake up and be like, oh, people don't have something to eat? That's awful. I'm going to go out and like feed them. He literally said he didn't want his allowance. He's like, I would rather give my money to like feed people who need it. And then he's like, have a beautiful day. I'm like, fuck, that's beautiful. Like that made me cry so much. And Josh is like, this isn't sad. They fed him that line. They told him what to say. I'm like, motherfucker.
But he got that water though.
But the water, Yeah, it's that's so funny. What I understand what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the sad thing, but these things that stir up emotion. Where it's like, it's funny. I used to make fun of my mom a lot. Where it was like, like a nice thing or a sad thing, or is like you see her start to cry. And I'm like, here we go again. I used to like tease her. It's like, ya va a llorar otra vez, ma. Like, ma. I am 100% my mother. Like I tear up, and it's like, and my mom would say, "It's like un día vas a saber," and I know now. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it stirs up both positive emotions, sad emotions, and even in between, where it's like, "Oh man, that's so cool." It's like happy tears. I didn't know that was a thing. Like I knew it was a thing, but you don't understand it until you do it. You're like, I'm happy right now. Choking up. I don't know. It's beautiful.
yeah, I don't experience happy tears that often.
Happy tears you don't get.
Yeah, it does. I don't really get it. I'm like, hell yeah, little kid, hand out those sandwiches.
It sounds like you're holding it in. Hell yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Do you get happy tears?
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, I'm very similar. It's very specific things.
That's so
too,
great.
but I do get happy. Like I don't. That's the other thing is like at least like content wise, like I don't cry from sad videos. The only thing that gets me stuff that's sad is like stuff that has to do with like sibling, like brothers. I'm very close with my brothers, so like whenever there's like I don't know if you saw Iron Claw.
No, I didn't.
This is the most recent thing I read. It's the movie with what's his name?
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron, where it's like the wrestling, the
yes,
the brothers
yes,
are all
yes.
wrestlers, and the ending to that movie, like the whole time I'm like, I was like, I don't know if I'm crying or if I'm just like I don't know if I want to cry or if I feel like I should, because I know that that's the kind of movie this is. But then like the very last scene, I was like, fuck, it just broke me. I'm like, but because it has to do with like somebody, it's a true story, but this guy lost all 5 of his brothers, like in the course of like 5 years, and so like at the end he was like, he's crying and he tells his sons, like, he's like, oh, I'm crying because I used to be a brother and now I don't have any brothers.
Oof.
And I was like, fuck.
Like sad stuff, devastating stuff like that gets me. I'll be like, this is sad. But like getting emotional over something random, it just doesn't. I remember being young and I was sitting with my mom, we were watching TV, and there was a Coca-Cola commercial. And it was like this lady sitting by herself at a bench, and then this guy like sat next to her. They were like waiting for like a bus or something, and he was just sitting there, and he just goes bring, bring, and then he reaches in his bag and he pulls out a glass bottle of Coke, and he goes, "Hello, it's for you." And he gives it to the girl, and I look over at my mom, and she's like welling up, and I was like, "What the?" "What the heck?" Yeah.
You just got me right now. What is that? What if that's the one that got me off?
Exactly. So
We're gonna need another water,
I
Josh.
was like, okay, some people are sensitive, I guess.
Your mom sounds like a cool fucking lady. I love that.
So how do you how have you dealt? I mean, I don't necessarily think it's like comes from like machismo in general, but like, how are you with like mental health and like emotional regulation and stuff?
Yeah, I think that took a long time to kind of navigate. It's like I remember when I first arrived in therapy, and it was just hard. It's the usual of like, I feel like I know how my dad would respond to me, like, hey, I'm gonna go to therapy kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, do I just keep this to myself? I did, until later I, was open about it. But, just kind of like challenging certain, machismo things. Is like, as a male Latino in a household where my dad, it's like, here's what I'm trying to say. It's like, there's certain things that there's certain ways I was expected to act, which I get, right? It's like, no llores, composure. Like if I would do like silly things, my dad was like, no, like, don't have people laugh at you, basically. It's like, you want people laughing at you? I'm like, oh, I just want to be silly and make people laugh. He goes, no. He's like, you want to be serious. And I think it took me a while to really understand where that came from, right? And it was because my dad had to act and be a certain way to find success and get through the obstacles that he got through, that he feels that those are things he needs to pass on to me in order for me to have some kind of success as an adult. The day-to-day responsibilities when life kicks you in the groin. It's like you have to like act and persevere and this kind of thing. So I understand where that came from, but it's like, I think as I got older, I understood that it's okay to not dismiss what I'm feeling, honor what I'm feeling, that what you're feeling is valid. And and I will process it differently. You have to understand that it's almost like a rebellion thing. So I'm going to process it my own way, it's, for better or for worse, but you figure out what that is. And I think for therapy, once I got there, is like, I found myself being equipped little by little with so many tools that I still use to this day. Also, meditation has saved my ass. Like, I'm telling you, I've meditated for a long time, and I go through periods of time where I meditate more than others. You kind of like get away from it, come back to it. But that has 100% saved my ass in the worst of situations. So it's a little bit of everything. It's like, maturing, letting go. Ooh, I like this word right here. Surrendering. Surrendering to his situation. There's certain things that were outside of my reach and control. There was nothing I could have done in certain times in my life. And it just like, it's absurd to think that the outcome would have been different if I was able to do X, Y, Z. It's just what it is. It's nature. It's this, it's that. So surrendering and accepting and kind of maybe just learning what you need to learn from that and just like moving on. So I think mental health wise, there's been a lot of tools, surrendering, meditation, being okay with stuff, going back to, surrendering, trying to see what I can do to turn it around for myself. And being okay with, acceptance. Certain things require acceptance. So it's like mental health is some days are better than others. You feel, and another thing, realizing that you can't be happy all the time. That's not that's not a natural thing. Just as people who suffer from like deep depression, it's like they're sad all the time, and that may not feel normal, but it's like it doesn't last all the time. So it's like when you have those moments outside of that, be able to focus and put your eggs in the basket of like, oh, let me celebrate this. Let me be happy for what I have right now. And even when you're feeling like upset or sad, know that that's not forever. It's like you can crawl out of it. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just rambling now.
No, that's great. That's all great stuff. I'd love to hear. That's like very like well articulated stuff. Is like how I feel about things, and I think it's very similar to a lot of people that listen to the show. So like I'm sure everybody appreciates you saying all that. Like,
we can laugh at it too, right?
Yeah.
It's like certain things, like, it's like, I don't know, like certain sayings that my dad would say is, "Los hombres no lloran." Hilarious. That's so funny to me. I was like, "Oh, really, Dad? Then watch this." And start crying. It's like challenging these things with humor. I think everyone in this room right now is like, and people watching, like we're equipped with what I feel like is a superpower. That's humor. Some people have it, some people don't. A sense of humor can go a long way. It'll get you out of the worst situations. It'll put you in the worst situations as well. Thinking something's funny and it's not. But at the same time, it's like being able to like, laugh it off, something that used to be so painful. You think about it now, we all laugh about it. It's like, oh man, remember? Yeah, it's like being able to laugh about it is special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say, so a little bit of context. I found out about you as a comedian through like I think it was you did Who's Your God with Steve and Amy Miller years ago.
Yeah.
That's how I found out about you as a comedian, and I was like, oh, I love what this dude has to say.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I saw you at Chatterbox, and it's like, I'll say this, and I'm sure Silvia can agree. I know you don't like to toot your own horn, but every time I hear your name come up, I've heard your name being dropped on like small podcasts, on big podcasts. Bert Kreischer's like dropped your name in episodes of stuff, and like every single
sweet.
time somebody mentions Jesus Trejo, everybody talks about what a great dude he is.
Yeah.
And like, I guess it's like, where have you always had this disposition, or like, where does that come from, do you think?
I'm always grateful when anyone has anything good to say, you know. I'm grateful. I don't know. It's like it's so like oh, here we go.
I was trying not to tear up, and then Josh just looks at me and shakes his head.
That's okay. That's okay.
He's like, God damn it.
We're gonna need more water. No.
Josh.
No. I'm kidding. Like we're all gonna walk out of here like hydrated as hell. You know? I don't know. I'm grateful. Thank you for your kind words. You know, it's like I'm always like, yeah. I'm so grateful to like have made so many friends, and I'm genuinely like a people person where I'm curious to like find out about somebody and like connect and, you know, just talk is like not talk about like anything. It's so funny. You just reminded me of when we were on the rooftop of the Comedy and Magic Club. It's like we talked for like an hour or something. I don't even know what I was talking about. Just probably just like, oh, there's a seagull or something, and we're pointing at it. Like I feel like my conversations go that way usually. Like I don't know, wanting to share like, oh, I had a great breakfast sandwich today, and I feel like I want to talk about it, and I feel that the more, I don't know, as like I always feel like the conversations are small, but somehow like they're meaningful to me, and you know we end up kind of building this relationship. I don't know, so it's like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I'm grateful. Like I wish I could. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck.
I mean, I know, I'm sure it's hard to articulate it for yourself, but I think it's like a lot of people see it. Like I said, it's like anytime Jesus gets brought up, it's like there's like certain people that you see. It's such a competitive industry, you know, that we're all in.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of camaraderie in it,
Yeah.
and like being friends with her, but it's still, there's that competitive element, but there's like few standouts where when that person succeeds, everybody's happy.
Yeah, no, thank you. I don't. It's not lost on me. You know, it's not lost on me when people, when I see people and I can feel that they're genuinely like happy to see me. You know, it's like, or you know, you catch wind of somebody like say something really nice on a podcast. It's like, man, that's so cool, and I don't know what I've done to like. To get those nice shout outs, you know, it's like, you know, you don't do it with that intention. It's like, I just want to make friends, and this business is competitive and it's awful. You know, it's like, it's a really tough business, right? It's like, you know, try not to, yeah, it's tough. So I think I've always tried to just make more friends than I make enemies, kind of thing. You know, it's like I think that's important.
I don't believe you have any enemies.
You know, you have a bad day, you show up somewhere, and the way you show up and respond to maybe certain situations might set the precedent that you're. You know, it's like, oh, he was actually a dick. It's like, okay, that's how I showed up that day in the world. It's like I definitely didn't want to do that, but that's. You know, that's the experience you got from me. So, yeah, it's really cool. And I think this business it's cool that we're all supportive and it's so competitive at the same time. So I try to do my best to find my own path where it's so different, where it's like, I'm kind of doing my own thing. It's like, you know, it's like, also we have so many cool friends and we know so many great comics that it's like, I love to watch my homies like go up there and perform and find themselves on stage and tackle the new project and, support their podcast, support their this. It's like, I don't know, it's just so cool. I don't know. It feels like a big clubhouse that we're so lucky to be a part of, where you show up and you're like, wait, you got this going on? Well, let's go like play with that. It's like, I got this thing. You guys want to play with this? Sure. Somebody's like, oh, I can't. Sure. We'll find somebody to play with this thing. So yeah, it feels good.
Yeah. I think that's like clear. You can like, there's a sense of like, yeah, like you just explained, like an interest in others. And I think that is something that is evident in like just in many ways that I've experienced, like you as a person, like whether it's a one-on-one conversation or through comedy or, your shows that you have going on. It's like, even I know you have a show on PBS coming out, and I just saw the trailer, and I was like, that's still there, just like wanting to learn about people, and it's like a genuine interest in like who people are, what makes them tick.
Maybe it's just, being an only child, it's like, growing up with no siblings. I think you're like, you want somebody to play with. So when you like show up somewhere and you meet people, like this is the first time we've really like interacted, you and I, Josh, but I feel like we have a running joke, the water thing. It's like that genuine interest of like, I don't know, we're building a moment and it's fun, and I want to get to know people. We have our origin story of how we met. We have our origin story how we met. This is ours, So it's like, I don't know. I'm appreciative of meeting cool people, and it's like, for example, that documentary, the docuseries with PBS was like so fun because we got to follow 6 comedians from across the country. Some I was already friends with, and some the friendship unraveled literally in real time when the cameras were rolling. And I'm such a fan of comedy that this show, like I wanted it, like I was very much interested in this concept of like tracing a joke back to community. Mm-hmm. And how, like, if you have more context on the comedian, you understand why and what they're saying on stage. And you get to see that with all 6 of these comedians, which like, I hope people, I've kept saying this, I've done a bunch of like interviews and press for it, to promote the show, but I keep saying this and I stand by it. It's like, I hope people fall in love with these 6 comedians as much as we did, because their stories are so like genuine, so genuine and so great. And, you get to meet their parents. I'm very close to my parents. So it's like, I think that informs a lot of like my comedy. I love, finding out where somebody's from, their community, and then seeing the joke, and then you can understand where the joke is coming from, Vanessa Gonzalez, we went to Laredo.
Yeah, she's great.
Amazing. So devastatingly funny, like so funny. You see her on stage, but then you trace the jokes back to her parents and, realize that complexity that exists. And, Tatanka Means was somebody who I did not know beforehand. We were friendly through like social media and this kind of thing, but you see that relationship unfold in real time. We were in Chillar, Arizona, a Navajo reservation, and I got to meet his family, where he's from, and we were out in like the canyon of Chillar, like a very illuminating experience, a very new experience for me. I grew up in Long Beach, so it's like that's so wild to me. I saw, like, when we were filming, I saw there was like 4 horses that were running wild, and they ran past us, and I'm like, yo. Like, nobody flinched. I'm like, did we not see these beautiful horses? Like, long hair. Like, you could just tell they were just out in the wild. And, he laughed. He goes, yeah, that's like normal. And there was like, I think it was like a bull that was crossing the road at one point. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like losing my cool. And he goes, yeah, but to me, that's different, and getting to know them. And yeah, so we basically just brought like my genuine interest for people, my like insane, my insane love for comedy and storytelling. And, we came up with the show, and it's out now. You can see it for free on PBS, but it'll air next month.
And can you say the name of the show?
Oh yeah, Roots of Comedy.
Yeah,
Roots of Comedy, and then I get to host it, and yeah, it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. The episodes are like 25 minutes, so they go by really quick, and yeah, they're really cool. I hope you guys get to check it out.
I'm gonna check it out for sure.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer. I didn't know that you could watch it already. I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Yeah, you
I
can
saw
see it for free.
I saw the trailer. I think PBS and you like collabed on or something.
Yeah, that's right.
But I saw it, and the way that I described the trailer, I don't know if this is the vibes, but like the vibes I got was like, is it parts? What's that show? Anthony Bourdain. I was like, it's like Anthony
Parts
Bourdain.
Unknown.
Yeah, it's Parts Unknown. It's like Parts Unknown, but for comedy.
Yeah.
Like it looks very cool, and like it's all about the context of the byproduct,
Yes.
which is like really, really, really cool to me, and especially seeing the people that you have involved with, like Vanessa. When I saw Vanessa on it, I was like super stoked because I saw
excited.
she's another person that's come through to Chatterbox, and like
So
she's
funny.
a crusher, like so funny.
Yeah, we have Elin Stribling from Denver. Hilarious, so funny, amazing family. We have Ali Sultan from Minneapolis, so we go down there. We have Adam Posse out of Portland.
Oh, nice.
Sierra Cateau out of LA. She's fourth generation LA, and we do a deep dive to her Japanese and Chinese roots, and her family. Both sides of her family are featured in museums there in downtown LA. So we get to go down there and really talk about this difficult history with her family, and being a fourth generation here in Southern California. So it's all like really cool, fun stories, but very complex. You get to really learn the complexities of each of their families, history, that kind of thing. So, and really funny too, because we're cutting to them on stage doing their jokes and that kind of thing. Like for Vanessa's episode, we went down to Laredo, and she had a homecoming show, which, as someone who lives and performs in their hometown, we don't get that homecoming show. It's not really a thing for us, right? Unless you go to the home club where you started, like a Chatterbox experience, But to go back to where you're from and have a show there, and to show like friends and family what you've been doing, like we got to see it, and this was her first ever homecoming show, and it was special, man. It was like really cool.
That's so special.
Like, woo, it was good. Like the whole town came out for it, and it was really cool.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so check it out.
I love the idea that you said that you saw horses, like just wild horses running free, and you're just like, damn, that's crazy. And they're like, this is every day. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine them coming to Long Beach and seeing a tweaker on the street, just like, wow.
This is all the time.
That's my cousin.
Yeah. Or like the beach, where it's like when people.
There's beautiful things there too.
The beach. That's funny. Yeah, we gotta focus on the beautiful girl.
Right.
I mean, tweakers do have long faces, so I get the comparison.
It's funny where it's like, oh, you're from Long Beach, you know how to swim? It's like, no, I learned how to swim when I was like in my 30s. So yeah, being from Long Beach, nobody gets in the water.
No.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing I was talking about. I have a friend that's moving out here from the Midwest, and like she's like super excited to go to the beach, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really go to the beach. I stay like 10 minutes from the beach.
Yeah. I do have to be close to the beach. Like I have to see it, since I grew up like looking at it and smelling it since I was a kid. So it's like when I do go on the road for an extended period of time, it's like that's one of the things I get homesick about. Like when I fly back, I be able to go to the beach. Even just driving by, you can pick up the smell, and that's enough. It's like you have enough of a dosage where you're like, all right, I'm home. The body is regulated. It's like it feels like home. Yeah.
What's like a simple pleasure self-care thing that you do for yourself?
Ooh, simple self-care pleasure.
Like for me,
he's getting, we can't talk about that on the podcast.
Self pleasure.
Not those kind of self pleasures.
Like for me, when I get through like a phase of like just like a hustle phase where and I have finally a day off, I always order a chicken sandwich and a lemonade for lunch.
Like a gentleman. It sounds like it. Oh, that's good. That's a good one. I think one of the day-to-day and it started recently, like the day-to-day kind of like simple pleasures that I get to like treat myself is I've become a coffee person.
Nice.
Like, and I'm like not enough to where I could taste the different things, but I'm starting to. Like when you read the thing, you're like, it has notes of like citrus, or like, I'm like, oh, I feel like, oh, I think I can kind of taste this. So I look forward to that. But I started adding this cacao to the thing to get like a taste of like chocolate in it, but it's not really, it's like no sugar. It's straight from the thing, and they're like little pellets. So I put them in the coffee. I don't know why I enjoy that so much. I put like 3 little like tablets in it, and it kind of melts with the coffee, and you could like it makes the coffee taste different. So that's a simple one that I just started doing, and it feels so good to start my day off that way. It means a lot. Like this coffee is good. It's like the one we just got downstairs. That's really good. You could taste the stuff. So I don't know, I get a kick out of that. But I guess day to day, I really like. What can I say?
Your wife.
Well, for sure. Thank you for that. Aside from my wife,
Obviously.
Goes without saying.
it goes without saying. I mean, baby, if you're watching this, I mean, they cut that part out where I was.
He was gushing about you for
It was
like
40
an hour.
minutes, and they had to cut it out, and we resumed. You know when I started talking about my wife when Josh brought the water. That's how long ago I started. They cut it out.
I actually did want to ask about that.
Yeah.
Like, how has that been like, what am I trying to ask here? You're Latino, you're doing stand-up comedy, you're busy all the time, and you're married. Like what has been your experience like as both like a working comic, a touring comedian, having the experience you've had with your parents, and like, being Latino, and like, cause you said she speaks Spanish, so she's
she's Mexican.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she's Mexican. She was born in El Paso and grew up in Juarez.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's
she
where
would
my
go.
family's from.
Oh, Juarez?
Yeah.
No way.
My dad's from Juarez, and like we lived in El Paso for a little bit. I always feel like
okay.
I'm a Texan. I've only been there. I lived there for like 2 years when I was like 3 to 5.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so similar things. She was born in El Paso, grew up in Juarez, and she did the thing where she would cross back and forth every day to go to school, kind of thing. So we have, I've learned so much from her experience as she tells, the complexities of like living at the border, kind of thing, But to answer your question, I think one of the things I learned, and I think I came to terms with it in college, is like time management. It's like it's been a big learning thing for me, but it takes time for sure to really know how to juggle and show up for all these different sides of one's life. It's like who I am as a son, as a caretaker, as a boyfriend. Then it became like, with my wife, it was like a boyfriend, then it's like fiance, now like, being married, as a husband, as a son, as a friend, as a comedian. There's so many there's so many quadrants that we have to show up for, and it's like, it does come at a sacrifice. There's certain things you won't be around for, or you hope that these people in these quadrants that mean so much to you, they're able to understand that the way I show up is going to be limited, or there's a certain way I'm going to show up, and for them to be supportive. And I try to reciprocate that kind of understanding as much as I can. But it is difficult trying to juggle. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys are multi hyphenate, and there's so many things that you do and are that it's tough. It's like, it's like, can you do this? Oh man, I'd love to, but I can't. It's like, and it's not that you're like, there is and there isn't this thing. This is what's tricky, where you have to prioritize, but it's not prioritizing someone because it's like, oh, this means it's just like, it just works out that way. And it's hard to communicate that, because it's like, you don't want to hear that you're less of a priority. It's like, that's tough, but it's like, even as I'm explaining it, like it's tough. It puts you in a weird place to explain that, but it just doing the best you can to show up. Mm-hmm. Do you guys find it hard to like juggle roles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, earlier you were talking about being an only child.
Yeah.
I'm not an only child, but nobody liked me. Like my siblings
We like
did.
you.
But but it's like you're not an only child, but like all of your siblings are like half siblings, right?
Yes.
Like so you're kind
okay.
of
I get that.
I'm my parents' only child.
right.
Together, but like my mom had 3 children. I found out I had another sister with my dad. He found out. It was a surprise to all of us, but we're cool.
Yeah.
But I grew up with my grandma, my dad's mom. So I lived with her, my dad, and my uncle since I was 2, from 2 to 22, and then I was my grandma's caretaker from 17 to 22, while she was like transitioning through dementia. So like. That was like wild because it felt like
That's tough.
Yeah, I was going to school. I was working, and then I was my grandma's full-time caregiver. And then being like a girl, plus like the only woman that could still do stuff at the house at the time, I was like cleaning and cooking and taking her to her doctor's appointments. It was just like a wild time for everything. But aside from that, like growing up, nobody liked me because I was so emotional. And to this day, it's like I just can't stop fucking crying. And when I was younger, like my siblings, my cousins, anybody, my parents, everyone was just sick of me. So the only person I would talk to is my grandma. So she's like my person, that's like my ride or die person. And then growing up, when I finally like developed a sense of humor and realized like, oh, this is how I get out of like this little dark hole I've been in my whole life. And people started to listen to me, and I had so much to say. I just wanted to talk all the time, but nobody wanted to listen to me. So I had to be creative because I had all these ideas and stories and like conversations in my mind that couldn't be developed. And my grandma, she grew up in Mexico, she never went to school or anything like that. So she's illiterate, she never learned English. So her mindset is very simple in a beautiful way, kind of just like where she's like, I woke up, things are cool. I had beans, life is good. And it's nice, but it's like, I couldn't have any deep conversations with her. So I just had so much pent up inside of me that when I finally started to like break out of like how emotional I was to being funny, like transition all my energy into that, people were like, oh shit, she's worth listening to,
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't shut up. And then I made a lot of friends because I wouldn't shut up. And because it took me like so long to finally get people to like me, I became a people pleaser where I want everyone to like me. So like I'll do anything for anyone. And that's why I was always so present for people, especially like, even though I had so much on my plate during college and even a little bit after, I was still making sure like all my cousins that I was really close to, like I was going to their house every other day or at least once a week. Like when my cousin had her babies, I was there the whole time. When my aunt had her babies, I was babysitting whenever. When my sister wanted me to like do anything, I'd be there for her. My brother wanted me to, for everyone, I was always their like fallback person. Like, oh, Sylvia's going to be here. Oh, Sylvia's got it. Oh, Sylvia will babysit. Like they could call me at 3 a.m. I'm going to pick up and I'm going to go wherever you ask me to go. And I am that person to this day, but it's like such a huge transition where it's like, I used to see my grandma all the time. No, it's like, that's very limited for when I have time to see her now. Because I work, I have my job, and then I'm trying to make all this stuff work out for me. So it's like, it's such a huge impact because she's so old now. And you're like, damn, how much longer is she going to be around, And it's funny because she has dementia, so whenever I go to her, she's just like, you still live here, right? And I'm like, yeah, my bed's in your room. And she's like, yeah, I feel like I never see you. Like, I was just here the other day. She's like, I forgot. So it's like,
You got to easy out.
yeah, no, I really do lie to that woman just constantly.
It sounds to me like what's cool is that you still have a cool presence in her life, and she has a cool presence in your life. So it's like, as long as, we're talking about how difficult it is, and sympathize and empathize with everything that you're saying. It's like it is a very difficult journey of 17 to 20, you know, being in that space as a caregiver and also being the one that people turn to as like the responsible one, you know. It's like, what a great thing, but also what a difficult thing, because they know that they can turn to you because you show up, you get stuff done, and you have such a beautiful heart, you know, and so I get what you're saying is like, but you're making it work. You're doing everything that seems to be working for you. You know, you're getting projects off the ground. You're working hard towards your dream, but you know, you still making time for your family. That's important. So it sounds like you're doing all the right things. It doesn't make it easier, but you're doing all the right things. It sounds like, right?
I'm trying to. I mean, I feel like I know I definitely get hit up by my cousins a lot more now. Like, oh, we never see you anymore. You don't hang out as much anymore. And I'm just like, come to the show, come hang out, go to my open mics. Like, no, I do still try to like show up when I can, and then even when I can't show up to something, like I know I feel really bad about it because I've set such a precedent of like being there, especially with my nephews. I think that's what fucks me up the most. It's like my nieces and my nephews, where like they've always known me as being around and being silly, and I get down to a children's level, and honestly I love talking to kids more than the adults when I'm at like family parties and stuff, just because they don't fake the funk. And then like when it's their birthdays and I'm getting invited to like go to Chuck E. Cheese for their birthday, or they're having something somewhere and they get so excited for me to go, and I'm just like, I'm working that day, or I have a show that day, or I have something already that day. I try to like do something for them some other time. So like my nephew had a birthday the other day. My aunt invited me to Chuck E. Cheese. It's like a 2 days notice, and I had already like I was working that night, so I wasn't gonna be able to go. So like I'll do something like I went to Daiso and I bought him like $60 worth of little trinkets and stuff and filled up a whole basket, and then I just left it at their doorstep with like balloons and stuff.
That's so sweet.
And I try to do whatever I can just to be like, I might not be around, but I'm here. I'm like, if that's all I can do, just to be like, hey, I'm still here. And like, one day I'll have the time to be spending it with you. But right now I have to be in this. That's all I can do, I guess.
Yeah. It sounds about right to me. It's like you're doing it as best you can. And it's like, you know, relationships, you know, it's not a take, you know, it's like it's reciprocating. And sometimes there is moments in a relationship in which it's more take than give, but you know, you're mindful of it. You know, you're a good person. No, nobody doubts that. So it's like, I'm sure they're like very happy to, I'm sure they're ecstatic when they have all these little nice things from Daiso. But even before that, it's like, I'm sure they're happy just with a phone call too. You know, that's just as meaningful as the very thoughtful, you know, gift. So, but it sounds like, yeah, you're doing it all right for sure.
Hell yeah.
We try.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We're gonna start wrapping it up.
Oh, sure.
Thank you so much for your time, Jesus. But I have two questions. That I wanted to ask. I'm gonna ask one first because I feel like it might take up the rest. But I wanted to, and also, if this is too personal, we can skip over and I'll just ask my last question. But you know, we have a show coming up called Good Grief, and we've been talking a lot about mental health and about like emotions, and you've offered us a lot, so much insight and like a lot of thoughtful things for us to like chew on.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to ask if you're comfortable speaking about it. What has been your experience like dealing with grief the last year, and is there anything that you've learned from it?
Yeah. All right. You guys ready? Here we go. Okay. Look, grief is something that's difficult for sure. You know, it is literally the most difficult thing I've ever had to go up against. You know, it's like, especially when a parent like passes away, or not especially when someone's so close to you, as like in this case, my mother, you know, passes away. It's so difficult, you know, and, you know, we're artists, so we're able to maybe use that pain to inform our art, or to kind of like develop something that expresses it. You know, I think that's why art is so important, because it gives you this extra way of expressing something, right? And I think yeah, it's like I started writing, soon after with all the experiences, because when you're going through something like loss, there's so many situations that happen. You're like, wait, what the fuck is happening? It's so painful that it's funny, right? And there's certain things where it's just like, oh, this is just painful, and so you're going through all these emotions, trying to process, everything, and I realized on May 10th, right, which is Mexican Mother's Day. So a little bit before that, I got booked to do the Netflix is a Joke festival, right, and they gave me a date in the belly room, right, in the belly room at the Comedy Store, and it was like May 10th, and then it hit me like earlier in the year when they booked me, like soon after I got the date, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Mexican's Mother's Day, like, I'm like, that's a sign. Mm-hmm. That's a sign. I'm like, all right. So I had all this material, which some I had worked on before, and I was like, I'm going to put together, and I still want to record this, this special. I have all this like material, regarding, which I'm looking forward to do on the show. So that's why when you hit me up to it, it's like, it was so crazy because when I posted about it, and I wanted to call the show a Good Morning, morning spelled as I'm mourning.
Wow.
And
we're changing the name.
No, I love Good Grief because it's like, it's like that idea was in my head as well, like as far as Good Grief, because I'm like, this, like, how do you honor somebody? We started talking about this earlier. It's like there's a way to grieve somebody, but there's the good kind of, it doesn't have to be heavy. I mean, sure, you can tap into that, but it's like you honor somebody, you celebrate somebody's life. And so yeah, Good Morning. I was like, I think that's what's going to help me put the hour together, right? And somebody reached out and was like, hey, that Good Morning has been used already. It's like, somebody messaged me. I'm like, dang it. So I have some other like titles for the hour that I'm working on, but basically, I've been able to process this thing through my art. Through like writing jokes about it and expressing it. And it's hard, man. It really is hard. Like there's no right way to grieve somebody, So you're going to go through all the ups and downs, lots of crime, lots of like, I got this, and lots of like, yeah, it's like, it's tough, but I'm grateful that I have stand-up comedy and a lot of supportive friends, because I have ran these jokes, and I ran it in, I ran that hour in the belly room dedicated to my mother, and I think people were very supportive, and they saw what I was trying to do, and I even put it up on my Instagram, like, this is going to be very different than what you're used to seeing from me. It's like not goofy, it's not silly, it's not like some kind of like, this is personal in a different way, and I think, I'm sure there was somebody in the audience going like, what the hell did I come to, but that's okay. The people that were there and knew what I was going for is like really understood it, and it felt good. It felt empowering. I thought I was going to feel cringe afterwards. Like, why did I do that? But I felt okay for the most part. It's like, it was hard to kind of resurface some of these things, but to answer your question, it's like, how do you deal with it? I think you deal with it as best you can, and to grieve somebody, like the loss of somebody is difficult. But when you're an artist, it's like, man, it's like, what a gift that is, as opposed to not being an artist, because you can write about it, you can paint about it, draw, like whatever artistically fulfills your heart, you could process it with that, and it makes it easier. And yeah, I just know that my mom is, like helping me, wherever she's at. I do feel her presence, uplifting my artistic efforts.
Awesome. That's beautiful.
Do you believe the butterfly thing or the hummingbird thing?
Oh yeah, the hummingbird thing is real.
Yeah, man.
Were you able, like, are you familiar with the stories that I posted about the hummingbirds thing?
No.
I'll talk about it. So my mother passed last year in August, And shortly after, we saw some hummingbirds show up to our place, right? And one of the hummingbirds went inside of our apartment and got stuck. And I felt so bad that the bird like kept banging up against the window, and it was like in a high place where I couldn't like get to it, and I felt so terrible. And I'm like, oh, like this is beautiful, and this is so beautiful, but I felt terrible that the hummingbird is like it could possibly pass, right? Because it's like hitting its head, it's not computing. So I'm like trying to get it down, and it kind of like dazed itself. So I was able to pick up the hummingbird for a while. Right, so I have the hummingbird in my hand, and I tell my wife, I'm like, go get a bowl of water and put like a lot of sugar in it and bring it over here. So she like runs over, she's helping me, trying to, so I have this hummingbird, and we were able to give it drops of like water, and I have video of it,
Wow.
and I was like, wow, that is so nuts. And my manager, his mom reached out. And was like, she goes, that's a sign for native cultures and many Mexican cultures that a hummingbird is a messenger from the other side that your loved one is sending to let you know that they're okay. And it's a message of hope and love and like a thumbs up kind of thing, right? And I was like, oh, wow, like I never heard of it, so I started doing all this research, and I believe it. I believe it, and the fact that I was able to hold this hummingbird and like feed it, like it didn't fly away. I gave it drops, and then once it was like ready, I even set it down, and it didn't go anywhere. And it kind of looked at me, and it was like I was a wreck, like emotionally. And then it flew away. A couple days later, it happened again.
Oh, wow.
And I thought it was the same one, and it wasn't, because we took photos and we compared it to. It was very different hummingbirds. But almost like a deja vu. Like it was the exact same scenario where I'm like, even my head started hurting because I'm like, this just happened like a couple days ago, or like what's going on? And same thing, we fed it. Like I fed it, I held it in my hand, and then it flew away. And I think there was a sign there because my mom's birthday was shortly after that on the 22nd, two hummingbirds. And
Wow.
I'm like, there's something there. So she was just letting me know that everything was cool. So I don't fully comprehend it, but I do believe in that there's something bigger, and yeah, she's around, man. She was she was a overbearing, lovable Mexican mother, so she ain't going nowhere. Mijo, aquí estoy if you need me. Ma. Yeah. So I do believe in the hummingbird thing.
Whew.
Yeah, you said earlier that, you feel kind of like sad that she's not around to see it, but I'm like, she is.
She's here. She's not going nowhere.
She's definitely watching.
Yeah.
Even when you don't want her to. When you
Simple-
when you're having a good time with yourself,
Simple
The simple pleasures in life. The simple pleasures. It's like, hey,
Get out of here.
hey, I'm in here, ma.
Oh man.
And comedy, we're back. See,
We're in. That was so beautiful. Thanks so much for sharing. I think we're gonna call it there.
sounds good.
We can't end on a better note than that. Thank you guys so much.
No, thank you guys for always being so kind to me. I appreciate it. I'm a fan of both of y'all's work, and pleasure to meet you, Josh. And I hope I can bring you water one day. The way you showed up, and brought us water. That was so sweet. You guys are great. I'm
so
very
excited.
grateful for this invitation. Thank you. I can't wait for the show.
Yeah, the show's coming out. So this is dropping this Wednesday. I don't know what the date is, but it's the show. If you're hearing this when it drops, the show's going to be on June 15th. Jesus is headlining, and
Yes.
I'm excited to see. I didn't know you were going to be running. I didn't know like what kind of kismet this was for us to link up like this, and like for you
It was
to do
crazy.
this show.
So when you reached out to me after I had done the hour, I'm like, oh, this is probably the perfect place to do it. So yeah, I'll pick some jokes to do the thing. Like whatever time you guys give me is great, and I'll select a few jokes to kind of go with the show. But this means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks so much for doing it.
For this beautiful outlet.
Where can people find you? Is there anywhere you want to plug?
You can go to my website, JesusTrejo.com. There's dates and all the good stuff there. Or Instagram at Jesus Trejo and the number 1. Between those two, that's usually where I post everything. YouTube page, I'm starting to cut up my old hour. The practicing one in clips. You can see the whole thing there for free. And check out that PBS Roots of Comedy docuseries. Some amazing comedians are on there. I enjoyed making the project. I hope you guys enjoy watching it.
Hell yeah. I don't have a final question for the audience.
If you made it this far, what's your favorite green and black outfit?
I said that as soon as they showed up. I was like, I guess we're all wearing green today. I packed my green.
Josh, you're not going to believe this, but they both sent me an email. They're like, can you wear something green? And I'm like, sure. I find it weird, but I'm like, no, I'm kidding.
I think it's a little weird because I usually wear green. It's like my color, kind of. And I didn't get that message, so.
She said, it's my color, kind of.
It's kind of the color I associate with myself, but hey, whatever.
Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. We'll see you next week. But for right now, don't fly.
I learned it.
Nice.
Hell yeah.